Okay, if you can't hear me, let me know. Kind of raise your hand or whatever. But my name is Sidna Rashid, and I'm very happy to be here tonight. And I'm very grateful for the Education Committee of the Democratic Socialists of America for inviting me to speak about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I have been studying the Larimer County Jail probably for about the last 9 years. I started out in 2011 because they had a jail sales tax on the ballot, which I objected to. I had been on a tour of the jail, and while we were on the tour, it was organized by the Civil Liberties team of the League of Women Voters. While we were on the tour, I found out a few things, which I'm going to cover in this presentation, that made me think there was no need to expand the jail. So my topic tonight is going to be the planned expansion of the Larimer County Jail. And when you first hear that they're going to expand the jail, you think, well, it's an easy decision. If it's full, you should expand it. But there are a couple of reasons that I'm very much against it. And the first one is, well, I'll ask you a question. How many people think that if you're a felon, you will be sentenced to the Larimer County Jail? Just a show of hands. 1, 2, 3. This looks like a smart group of people. Because you're only sentenced to the jail if you have been convicted of a misdemeanor, and one that usually the sentence has to be 2 years or less. So here's another question. How many people think that the majority of the people in the Larimer County have been sentenced there? Okay, I see few heads nodding no. You're right. The majority have not been sentenced there. And that is my big problem with the expansion of the jail. So let's just look at the makeup of the jail. And this is a pie chart that is available online. The Sheriff's Department has an excellent website. And this shows you March 23rd, 2019, which was last week. There were 326 people who were pre-trial, and that's that green. And we'll talk about pre-trial means that they're there because they cannot afford the bail that has been given to them. There are only 170 people in the jail who have actually been sentenced to the jail, and that's just about 31%. And then this small little slice, the dark blue, that's 49 people, and they're there because they're on hold for another jurisdiction. So you could say that when you look at this jail, more than half of the inmates are there simply because they don't have enough money to pay bail. And this is not only happening in Larimer County, it's happening all over the United States. This is a graph that's from the Prison Policy Initiative. And you can see the yellow line on the bottom, that's the number of people in the local jails who have been convicted of a crime. And the orange shows the difference, and that's the number of people who are there because they can't pay their bail. So this is a problem all over the United States, not just in Larimer County. But what I did is I've been studying this issue, as I've said, a long time, and I developed this graph from figures that I either got from articles in the paper or from Gary Darling, who is the director of the Criminal Justice Services section in the Larimer County. And you can see in Larimer County from 2011 to 2018, the total jail population really began to pop up at about 2014. And you can see here that the hold and sentence population, those are the people who you can say maybe you need the jail for, well, that has stayed pretty steady right around 200. But you'll see about 214, you'll see the number of pretrial people in pretrial detention has really gone up, and that has made the need for the expansion of the jail. So it's not because we're arresting more criminals and putting them in jail, it's because we're arresting more people and they can't afford to pay their bail to get out of jail before their court date. So the pretrial population the pretrial jail population represents people who can't afford to pay their bail. Bail is the process of releasing a defendant from jail before their court date. When arrested, a determination is made. There is a small portion that are considered non-bailable, and these are people who have been arrested for very violent crimes like murder, sexual assault. And that's about 4%. Then you have the rest of the population, and they are bailable. And a bail is set, and if people can meet the conditions and pay the amount of money, they can get out of the prison. So what is the reason for bail? Come on. Public safety?
Most people think.
Probably
what most people think.
I know, but it's not really. The reason for bail is, yes?
I was going to say so rich folks can get out of jail.
Yeah, no. It's to make sure, it's to encourage, it's to make sure that people will show up to court on their court date, for their court date. So it's just a mechanism to make people, make sure that they'll get to court on time. So what is, how can you be 100% certain that someone will return for their court date? Keep them in jail. The more people you keep in jail, yes, they'll show up for their court date, but it's going to be a very expensive proposition. So the defendant, this is where it gets really kind of confusing. I don't want to spend much time, but anyone that wants to ask questions, and if you want to discuss any of these points that I'm making as we go along, I'd be happy to stop and discuss it. But the defendant can be released pre-trial with a secured or unsecured bond. So a secured bond means that the defendant is released only after paying the amount of money or property set by the court. And this is where you'll find bail bond agents getting involved in the transaction. An unsecured bond is an amount of money which must be paid by the defendant to the court only if they do not appear for their court date. And in Colorado, the personal recognizance is considered the unsecured bond. And that's where you're released with no conditions, but he or she must appear for the court date. But in Colorado, if you're released on a PR bond, you might have conditions attached to it. So it depends. And conditions such as random drug tests are often set, no contact orders. There's a whole list of conditions that make it not easy to get out of jail. So now let's look at the path from arrest to pretrial detention here in Larimer County. And I'm focused on Larimer County because that's the only place I know really. So you're arrested. You're charged, and you're taken to the Larimer County Jail where you'll be interviewed by pretrial intake services. And they're going to make a determination then and there. Some people will be released from jail right then from the book and not booked into jail. They'll be released on their own recognizance, personal recognizance, or if it's not a really terrible crime, or if it's the first time they've been arrested. It all depends on the what their life is like, I guess you'd say. So if you are booked into the jail, then everyone in jail appears in bond court the first weekday after your arrest. And bond court takes place in the Justice Center here in town, and it's in courtroom 1A. There is a bond magistrate, and an agreement is reached at that time between the DA, the magistrate of the court, and the inmate. The inmate is represented by a public defender or by his own private lawyer. And what it is there's a video link up from the jail to the bond court. So they'll appear in their prison in their orange jumpsuit, and their bail is set. So bail bond has been set, and now you'll find the division into two groups. You'll have the group that will remain in jail, and this is the pre-trial population. By the time you leave here, I hope you understand that pre-trial population in jail means they can't pay their bond. So there's a small percentage, preventive detention. These are for the very serious crimes, 4%. Then there's a large amount of people who can't afford the bond, so they stay in jail. And then you have the group that are released pre-trial. They know when their court date is. They might be released on their own personal recognizance, or they paid the bail and can meet the conditions. So they go. So pretrial is an adjective used often in the criminal justice system, and it's very confusing. That's why I am focusing on it now, because when you start talking to the county officials, they will start talking about pretrial supervision and what a great program it is. And it is a great program here in Larimer County. Pretrial supervision is an arrestee will start pretrial supervision when he or she has posted bond or is ordered by the court to pretrial supervision. They are not part of the jail population. So you're speaking about the jail, people who can't pay their bond and are in jail. They'll start talking about the people who are out of jail under pretrial supervision. It's very confusing, and the issues are conflated quite often. So the pretrial population in jail are people who are there because they cannot pay their bail. The district attorney has the most power in deciding what bail or bond is set. Now, I've gone to bond court, probably about 3 or 4 times, and I have never seen the magistrate reduce the amount of bail or bond to the point that the inmate and his lawyer has requested so that he can get out of jail. Maybe it happens. I have not seen it happen. So usually what they've decided will stand, and if you cannot pay that money, you just will not get out of jail before your court date. So there was actually a law, a very progressive law passed in 2013. And this is the latest bail law. And you might have heard about one that's being discussed now. I don't know whether it will pass or not, and I'm not sure it will make any difference, as you'll see with this law, because I'll go through what this law kind of suggested. It implemented the use of a risk assessment tool like the Colorado Pretrial Assessment Tool, which is called CPAT, when determining the amount and type of bail bond. The law also creates a presumption that all defendants are eligible for release on the least restrictive conditions. And it encourages counties to develop pretrial service programs. So these are 3 of the main points. So it's very obvious from the way the law was written that they were trying to decrease the jail population throughout Colorado. So let's look at what has happened in Larimer County. Well, 2014, you'll see here, 434 in the jail, and now 2018, 4 years later, 552. This is the number each day, the average daily population over the year. So look at the pretrial, the number of inmates pretrial. From 2014, it went from 208 to 348. So there are 140 more people who are in jail simply because they cannot afford their bail. So how much is this costing you as a taxpayer in Larimer County? They calculate that the cost of one inmate a day is $118. So this is the number of the pretrial. We're just looking at the pretrial inmates who are there because they can't afford their bail or bond. And in those years, I think it was 8 years, $93 million were spent on housing people in jail because they could not afford their bail. So we were studying this with the civil liberties team of the League of Women Voters, and we started looking at the risk assessment tool that was suggested, one of the parts of that suggestions in the law. And actually in Larimer County, we're considered very progressive, and the CPAT, which is a risk assessment tool, was used starting in 2012 by and this is, I don't know, can you see those questions very well? I don't know, but anyway, if you look through the list of questions, you'll see that the goal of this questionnaire, it's a very good questionnaire if you are trying to decide whether a person is organized enough to get to the court date on time, because it looks at whether you have a home or cell phone, Are you owning or renting your own residence? Are you contributing to residential payments? Past or current problems with alcohol? Past or current mental health? You know, so you see, they're looking for people who are stable and are committed, you know, probably have a job and have deep roots in the community. And there's a risk score here, 1 through 4. 4 means that they're unlikely to return for their court date on time, and therefore they probably will get a higher bail or bond. So they started using this in Larimer County in 2012, but it was part of the suggestions as part of the law in 2013 for all of Colorado. So when you look at the CPAT, and as if you're a homeless or transient person, you will find that they'll quickly fall into category 2. So you have no phone, not owning or renting your residence, not contributing to residential payments. You're at 18, that's already risk level 2. So then if you look at whether they have active warrants, other pending cases, if you were first arrested at 19, that will take them all, plus the previous ones about their, you know, residence, etc. It will take you up to the 4th level. So then it will make it very hard for them to get out of jail if you're homeless or transient, or you've had problems with the law in the past, no matter what you've been arrested for. So the average daily population of the homeless transient in the Larimer County Jail, as you can see from here, has increased steadily since 2014. It has increased 70%. In 2017, there were 80 more people each day who were homeless and transient in the Larimer County Jail. 80 more people each day. So I looked at the homeless population in Fort Collins, just as a comparison, because I mean, if the homeless population, when you talk to the people at the jail, they'll tell you, well, the homeless population just spiked, all these transients, et cetera, et cetera. But when you look at the point in time count from 2016, you'll see when it's compared to the Fort Collins population, this is just for Fort Collins, but you'll see that it's pretty much stayed fairly regular. It hasn't spiked in any huge manner, at least not as much as the population of the homeless transient has in jail. So then here is, I have the actual article here. This is an article that was written in 2017, and some of you have seen it already. But this is from that article. As you'll notice, there are 53 mugshots of one homeless man, and his name, and 9 of them are showing up on the screen now. So this man, his name is Ross Bloom, and he was arrested 28 times in the last 5 years from 2012 to 2017, and he spent 106 days in jail. His crimes were failure to appear on trespass, panhandling, or open container cases. And he just didn't come for the pot or the alcohol available on the streets. He moved here in 1968 with his family when he was a child. And the article says that he really can't remember how long he's been homeless, but probably about 20 years. So over that 20 years, he was arrested 53 times. And of course, this creates a cycle of you're in jail, you're released from jail, and you know, I've spoken to a lot of people, and they'll say, oh, but they're homeless. I'm sure they want a warm place to stay and 3 meals. And I find that very hard to believe. I mean, I don't know if I don't have any proof that there's not ever any homeless man that wanted to go to jail, but I think it's very unusual if they do, because jail is not a fun place to be. If you have anxiety issues, it's not going to be fun. If anytime you want to go somewhere, they can check all of your body cavities at any time that they wish. I mean, you really have no good liberty or personal freedom. So why am I here tonight? I am here tonight because they want to expand the Larimer County Jail, and I'm so against that. but they seem to be going forward with it. In the 2019 Larimer County budget included a certificate of participation, which is called, this is called a COP. It's for $75 million, and it's to fund an expansion of the jail from 557 beds to 822. So does anyone know what a certificate of participation is? Okay, well, the biggest and most important thing is that it's a debt instrument which doesn't require prior voter approval before issuance. So it's one way, and probably, I think the only way, that the county commissioners can expand the jail without going to the citizens of the county. And I believe that they don't want to go to the citizens of the county because they have not had much success in the past. They did get one sales tax passed in 2014, but this would require a lot of money, $75 million. So there's a whole list of things about the COP. I'm not sure how interested you are in it, but basically what it is, it's a lease purchase agreement. The county agrees to give a trustee, usually a commercial bank, title to the property, and then they lease it back over a period of years. This COP will be for 15 years. So the timeline of this, what happened was in October 30th, 2018, before John Kafalis was elected to the County Board of Commissioners, a resolution was passed declaring its official intent to reimburse itself with the proceeds of a lease purchase financing for certain capital expenditures. That's kind of gobbledygook to allow them to, because it's going to cost them $5 million to do the planning for the COP, and they want to be reimbursed for that. So then there's a request for proposal, an RFP, which is requesting, they're looking for a construction manager for the project. And that, they were accepting bids and proposals until February 8th. But when I asked the county manager, Linda Hoffman, she has told me that this will not be, probably the County Board of Commissioners has to vote on it, on the COP itself, but they will probably not do that until the third quarter of 2019, around September 2019, this year. So how will the county pay for the jail expansion? Each year, the lease payments are expected to be around $7 million for 15 years. And this doesn't include the increased operating costs. If the cost per inmate per day is $118, when you increase the number of inmates from 557 to 822, the cost will increase from $24 million a year to $35 million. That's an extra $11 million. So finding an extra $18 million to pay for the jail expansion could be very difficult. And it could really hamstring the county, because what happens if there's a disaster? I mean, this is a lot of money. The county pays for a lot of their expenses from the property taxes, and that is expected, it's projected to be $125 million this year. So if you're going to have to take an extra $18 million out of that, I just think it will be difficult. So here's the reason, once more, why I think expanding the jail is such a bad idea. If you look here, you'll see the hold and sentence people are stable around 200. And then it's the pretrial population, the people who are in jail simply because they don't have enough money for bail, that are causing the jail population to increase to the point where it's near capacity. And unfortunately, I think to fill it, what happened is in 2000 they increased the number of beds in the jail, and what happened was they filled the jail. So I'm a little concerned that when they build it, they will fill it. So this is a big issue. And then once they fill it, you have to pay all of that money for the inmates, upkeep of the inmates. So what do you think, and what can we do? Yes?
Several questions. First of all, where did they come up with 822?
I don't know. That's just their plan. They have, actually, that's only the first phase. 10 years they want to go to 900 and
Yeah.
something. I can show, they project an increased population of, I don't know how, they
Yeah,
had it like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
done similar stuff for my church. That's why I'm wondering, presumably they have a ratio that they should,
Yeah, they
and
do.
if they don't, then, yeah.
They do
Second-
have a ratio. I can probably, it's probably in
No,
here
I'm not-
somewhere.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not interrogating you.
No, no,
Just-
no, I mean,
Okay.
if you, they're projections. I know they have
Okay, yeah.
projections.
Okay. Second, so I've got a bunch. Now, Tim Klaus, I'm a Fed. I'm going to be retiring in 6 months, and this is a chance to start doing what I do, but some things I find interesting. So asking questions like this, because this might be something to play with.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah. Now the tool, it was supposed to reduce the number of people?
Well, I mean, the law that encourages its use,
Yeah.
because it sounds really good.
Yes.
They were getting away of something, out of using something called the bond schedule. But I think it's an unintended consequence. The bond schedule had a certain amount of bail set according to what you have been charged with. So if you're charged with failure to appear for trespass, which is what a lot of homeless and transient people are charged with, then what happens is you might have no bail or bond. In this case, when you do that risk assessment, their risk of not showing up for their court date is rather high, I would think. Yes, Brian.
Do we have information in terms of the number of the size of the pretrial population, what CPAT scores they got? I mean, are
No.
50% of them like 3s or 2s?
You know,
Do we change when people get bail and don't based on the number?
well, I urge you all to go to the bond court and just listen, and they will mention the CPAT score. But the problem is, and I don't want to say this is definite, but I did try to get information on the, CPAT score and the charges and what they actually were sentenced with. And it's very hard to get that type of information, which is controlled by the DA's office. But I'll tell you, any information you want about the jail, they have everything up on their website, and I can get a lot of information about the jail. That's not a problem. And you can get all the booking reports. You can see what people were originally charged with.
And they don't have any plans to pay in the out years.
To pay.
To pay this thing off in the future?
Well, they'll pay off, it's a $7 million for 15 years. That's what they're looking at,
Right.
probably. So that's 15 years. They're going to finish the project in 5 years and have the 822 beds. So then, of course, when they have the 822 beds, they're not going to close all those wings. They're going to start filling them, is what I worry about. I'm not sure that will happen. But-
Now, the difficulty right there is, in effect, they're putting it on a credit card, and how are we going to pay this off? We'll figure out something.
Yes, exactly. They expect the property taxes to increase because of the amount of building in town. Yes.
So who is benefiting from this building plan and greater investment?
Well, see, this is the thing. It is not a privately run prison by any means. And if you talk to any, and I have met a lot of people. I know Captain Palmer, who's the in charge of the jail. I have met and talked to many people there. They don't think that it's a benefit to them to have all these people in jail. I think it's a mindset. They think, well, these people, they're not going to show up for their court date, so, we've got to keep them in jail. And that just is such a waste of money. I mean, why not provide services for them? But see, they're in this criminal justice box. And to try to get them, I don't know, it stumps me. And you have to depend on the politicians to make the right decisions. And in this case, I don't think they have. But our county commissioners are, the two, Steve Johnson and Tom Donnelly, are term limited. 2020 is their last year, so they're pushing this through. And they're only going to be here for another year. It just doesn't make sense to me. Yes?
Can you go back to the graph that you compiled?
Yeah.
And I hate to make you speculate.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a question for the room. But what happened in 2014 and 2017?
Well, 2014 is the law was passed in 2013, and I think they started using the CPAT. But you know, getting an answer, because a lot of the people in the pretrial services here in Larimer County, they were involved in, it was a state group that developed its use. But the problem is, I think it's an unintended consequence. I've started speaking about it, but whenever I speak to someone in the criminal justice system, they say, no, that can't possibly be so. But when you look at that, plus the homeless, the increase in homeless and transient in jail, I think it's a no-brainer. To me, it's because they're arresting people who are homeless for failure to appear, and then they're keeping them in jail until their court date. Yes,
How long was
Ryan.
that period?
I don't know, it depends. It's, if I don't know if I can get on to the website. There is a website, the Larimer County Jail has a website. All you have to do is Google Larimer County Jail population. And there's a dashboard, and they have all sorts of information there.
If you had to guess, like days, weeks, longer than weeks?
Yeah, it's usually months.
It could be months. It depends.
That's crazy. That seems like a big part of the story.
Well, but I'm not too sure that that's true for minor, you know, misdemeanors. But sometimes they'll throw in a resisting arrest, you know, disturbing the peace, and that can be a felony. And then that, of course, the charges are much higher. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know about that at all. But anyone who's a lawyer, if they have a really informative website that will tell you all about the people in jail. Oh, yes.
Do you know if the Larimer County jail uses like prison labor in any sort of projects? I know that's...
I don't think so. I've been on a tour twice, and I have not seen any Larimer County jail. But I will tell you that they do not have visitation, you know, front to front. You have to do it video now, and it has to be paid for, I believe. There's restrictions on that. The telephone calls cost money. There is no greens. You don't go out into a yard like you see on some of these shows on TV. It's an enclosed cement area for their relaxation, I guess you'd call. So it's not a great place to be. And I don't think the food is all that great. Yes.
Is there any evidence for individuals who can pay bail that are homeless or transient that they don't come back, or is that just speculative? Either here or at other places?
Oh, I don't know.
No?
I don't know. It's just they do like studies on how this pretrial services when you're under pretrial supervision, that they have all sorts of statistics on how many of those people, but of course they're out of jail, and they have a CPAT. If you come up afterwards, I'll show you the CPAT. There's 2 professors who are studying the CPAT effect in at UNC, and we went to talk to them, and they are not adjusting the CPAT. They're just adjusting some of the questions. And they have not done a study of whether counties who are using the CPAT have seen an increase in pretrial population. But as I say, a lot of it is determined by the DA and what he would like, you know, because the DA is the one that sets the bail according to the CPAT score and the bond application and all of that. Yes?
So my dad works in a similar position, like against the current of the justice system, and it takes forever, and I really sympathize. So have you talked to like ACLU or like a national
Yeah.
any of those?
Well, I used to be the chair of the Northern Colorado chapter. I'm not a lawyer, but you know, they did away with the chapters. But I was working on a project. They supplied me with all sorts of the population at the jail for, gosh, it's 63,000 lines of data. And I'm just, you know, I couldn't figure out how to do it. And they're not focused on bail bond issue yet. They might be in the future. But no, they take they take projects, and then one of the projects that they just finished, I think, was solitary confinement for juveniles. And they've done a lot of good with that. And also they sued Fort Collins, the city of Fort Collins, a couple times because of the criminalization of the homeless. Yes.
When this does go for a vote for the Larimer County Commissioners, how many of the 3 need to vote yes on it for it to pass? Is it 2 or 3?
I don't know, but I would guess that if there's one holdout, they will not do it, because this is something that, once the word gets out, this is something that I don't think many people would agree with, you know, this type of lease purchase agreement, in my opinion, but I don't know. But that's why, you know, it's very important. What we can do is, you know, write letters, I guess, write emails, but also go to all of the public events. Every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock they have public comment, and you can go and tell them that you don't agree with it if you're convinced. I mean, it always helps to have, it's 3 minutes, and always helps to have the reason why you're not and all that. Yes.
I know I'm talking a lot, I'm sorry to everyone who knows me. I can add that anecdotally, all the homeless folks I've spoken to about criminalization and like the police presence in town, which is still very bad, they say it kind of came up like 5 or so years ago.
Yeah.
And that might have corresponded to like camping laws. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I wasn't around then, but it kind of fits with this.
Well, there's actually an article that was a spotlight. There is a study done by DU students. I think it's DU students. But I can show you it's called, they looked at criminalization of the homeless, and they focused on Fort Collins. And it was from 2016. Yes, in the back?
Have they decided on a bank to use for this
No.
lease agreement?
Not that I know of. And I'm worried that they're going to pass it before, you know, without letting me know. But I have gone 4 times to the county commissioners meeting, and I have gone to their community meetings, and I think they need to know that people do not think this is a great idea. But the problem is they see it as a public safety issue. And I'm not sure that they really understand that the people who are in prison are the homeless. I have tried to explain that to them. Sometimes they don't quite hear what I'm saying. Yes.
Fort Collins, DSA, we do a fair amount of work with the homeless population directly. If there were questions that we could ask them about this facility, about their experience with the facility,
Yes.
what kind of information should we go directly to the homeless community about that can help us?
Well, you know, it's always anecdotal, but I would love to know if they really want to get thrown in jail. Because when I talk to people, you know, I'm a white middle-class woman. When I talk to people I know, they always say, yeah, but the homeless want to be in jail. It's cold outside. So I want to know if you find anyone that says, yes, I want to be in jail. I'd love to hear about it. In the back?
Is that 4% rate of unavailable support crimes, is that only for Larimer County, or that's?
No, that's nationwide.
Nationwide?
So if there's someone, remember the young man who was arrested for murdering the lady in City Park Lake? He could not have a bail. He was not allowed out of the jail.
Do you have information of that number here in Larimer County specifically?
No, but it's generally, they say it's around 4%. They will always, you know, there actually is, if you look up, there are certain offenses that in Colorado, legally, they're not allowed to set bail for. And then, of course, you'd have to see how many of those crimes have occurred and how many people might be in jail. Yes?
Can you describe the process that this, I guess, $75 million will be approved? You say it's the Board of Commissioners?
County
How many
commissioners.
of them are there?
There's 3 of them. Okay. One of them was just elected in the last election. He's a Democrat. His name is John Kafalis. He has served us very ably as a state House of Representatives, and then he was a state senator. and now he is a county commissioner. But all of this, the whole process was started before he was on the board of, before he was elected. The other two are longtime Republicans, and they have been, I think this is their fourth term, so they're term limited. 2020, the end of 2020 is their last time.
And we can find their names online.
Yes, Steve Johnson and Tom Donnelly.
Does it
Yes.
need to be a unanimous approval?
That I don't know. I would think not. But I'm not sure that they would want to do something like that if it's not unanimous. But that, I'll have to find out because that's a good question. I just assumed it could go forward with two. Yes?
I'm also on the Larimer County Agricultural Advisory Board, and we work with the commission a fair amount, and they try to make things unanimous because there's only three.
Yeah. So do you think it would have to be a unanimous?
I think that's what they would prefer to do.
You prefer, but
Whether or not there's a obligation, probably not.
probably, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yes, Emily.
Have you spoken with John Kafalis about this? Does he seem receptive, or do you think?
I
What do you
have,
think?
well, I have spoken, not directly. I'm working on this personally with a woman called Gina Jajim, and we're going to go meet with him at some point. But he is having a community meeting on April 6th at the main library. I think it starts at 9 to 10:30, but you can check for sure. And that's a good way. Now, Steve Johnson, the commissioners who are not, who are Republicans, Steve Johnson is, April 1st has this thing called Meatloaf Monday, and you go to the Trailhead Tavern and you can eat lunch with them. I don't know. You don't look like there are too many here that would like to do that, but it would be an opportunity to ask him about it.
Not bad if he's not a psycho.
Oh, he's a very nice man. No, Steve Johnson, don't get me wrong. Steve Johnson and Tom Donnelly, they both think this is the right way to go. They are not psycho in any way. They are very receptive to any comments from the community, and they hold a lot of meetings. Yes.
Unfortunately, you guys, this is part of our society. This is an industrial prison complex is what we're talking about. So, give you a little statistic. The United States has about 4% of the world's population. We incarcerate 25% of the people incarcerated. We have 25% of those. So this is about money. It really comes down to a lot of things. But criminal justice reform has got to happen. And I can speak personally to that because I've been a private investigator doing this work for over 27 years. So your statistic don't surprise me in the least because I've seen it
Yeah.
for 27 years.
Well, and it's so expensive. I would think at some point they'd say, wait, why do we keep throwing these people in jail and letting them out and then putting them back in, especially the homeless population? It's easy enough. You give $2 million to the Murphy Center, and they'll be able to help a lot of people find homes.
They don't want to do that, so.
But why?
They don't
And
like
see,
homeless
and
people.
here's another thing. Yes, unfortunately. Another thing is I don't think Larimer County invests anything in helping the homeless. So, okay, this.
Is there any sort of programs that are designed to help people get to court on time?
Well,
Because if
actually,
you're homeless, you don't have a car, maybe you do, but
and you don't remember, right?
It's hard to keep track of time without a calendar, that sort of stuff.
You might not have a phone. But what actually happens is at the Fort Collins Municipal Court, they have a homeless liaison. And in the municipal court, they bend over backwards to make sure that the people, because the homeless who are arrested all the time, they're well known to the police, to the community, to the court. So they know where the people are and they get them to court or they allow them a little flexibility. I don't think that's happening in the 8th Judicial District, which would be or the county court. So this is probably where there's the issue. And do you understand what a failure to appear? That's a bench warrant. So, they're issued a ticket to begin with, but then if they don't get to their court, they're issued a bench warrant and they're arrested when they're next interaction. Did you want to say something else?
Yeah. The other part about this is there's fines and fees.
Oh, yeah.
Supervision, so
Yeah.
this is directed at our least able population.
Yes.
And then you're assessing fines and fees on top of that, for things that they'll never be able to afford. So it really is, it really needs to change, but it is a real problem. It is a real problem.
I agree with you, and I have to say that I don't think they've looked at it, and I don't think I had looked at it from this point of view before I started trying to, because I really think expanding the jail is such a bad idea. I'm a huge tightwad, and there's no way I want to see all that money wasted on keeping people in prison. So when I started working on, a presentation on the topic, when you start looking at the CPAT, when you start looking at the populations in the jail that are the increased pretrial, the increased homeless, it all ties in. And I think it's easy to see now, but I think some people, I'm not sure that they want to hear it, I guess I'd say. Yes?
Is there an advance? So one way to approach this issue is to, obviously oppose this jail expansion. That's no question. But then the next thing seems to be to go after cash bail as a concept. I mean,
Yes.
Who's in town prepared to do that kind of work? I mean,
Well, there's a law being discussed in the legislature. But the problem is, as we saw with that original law they passed in 2013, the problem isn't getting a law passed, it's the application. And it's how, if you have a DA that wants to keep people in jail, they're going to keep people in jail. They're going to make it hard for them to, if you have a DA that wants to, look at other ways of doing things, they're going to find other ways of doing things. So that also is another way of doing it. But there's also the bail project. It's not here in town, but it's a charity set up to pay small amounts of bail that people have been assessed against them. Yes?
Yeah, there have been a few places, I think, that have eliminated cash bail, and then they've moved to an expanded tool system like the CPAT.
Yeah.
And in some places, they've deepened the inequities even worse than cash bail already had. And
Yeah.
so getting rid of cash bail is only part of the issue. It has to be whatever takes its place, because something will take its place.
Yeah, that is the problem. Yes, in the back.
I'll offer another suggestion, decriminalize.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the things that they're putting people in jail for that they shouldn't. I mean,
Oh,
there
yeah.
needs to be a criminal justice reform, and it needs to start at least with criminalizing so many of these things that shouldn't put people in jail.
Well, and there's also that with the school resource officers, you have this pipeline from the school to the juvenile detention facilities. And that it starts kids on a very rapid downhill, going downhill very rapidly. And also, I mean, if you're not homeless, but you're kind of living on the edge, and you do something stupid and you get arrested for it, and you get taken to jail, and you can't get out, there's no way. This starts the ball rolling where maybe when you get out, your car has been repossessed, you've lost your house. I mean, being in jail even for 1 or 2 months can be devastating. So that's why the system really, it's unfair and it really needs to change. But I don't know. My way of trying to make it change is trying to stop them from building a bigger jail, so they have to do something to not, to get people out of jail maybe. Yes?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, so you mentioned that charity for the bail bond?
Bail
funds?
project, yeah.
Bail project, okay.
Yeah.
Do you know if,
They don't do it, they're not doing it here. It started in New York City, but
so we don't have any sort of mutual aid?
no.
There's an immigrant freedom fund in Loveland, and they've talked about working with
Yeah.
Montgomery County Jail, but they're not there yet. They're providing bond for the Immigration Detention Center in Aurora.
Yeah. And it's funny because I know someone working on that project, and she asked me if they put down the status on and I looked in the jail, they do have that, they put down if they're Hispanic, white, their race. And I don't know if they do anything with it, but they do.
Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. So just two sort of quick questions. You mentioned there's a comment period allowed on Tuesdays at 9?
At 9 o'clock. It's
Where
it's I think it's the second floor. It's in the Board of County Commissioners. Do you know where the county building is? It's on Oak Street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right in there. It's up on the second floor, and you go back towards the back. You have to sign in first, but they're very receptive. They love to have people come and make comments.
And is that, are they currently accepting comments around this issue?
Oh, you can talk to them about whatever you want to. You can comment about anything. Yes?
Yes, just, I've been on the other side of this for years. Just please be organized.
Yeah.
Come to the point and have facts.
Yeah, it usually helps if you write it out and have facts. And I do have a little paper I've written about, why it's such a bad idea. I've got 3 copies here, but if anyone's interested, I can try to send it to you or whatever. Or I think I sent it to Ryan.
I think so too.
Yeah, so you can make it available, or, okay. Yeah, and it kind of goes through the same thing. It doesn't, this graph I just figured out while I was preparing for this talk, so that's not included. But I think this is one of the most descriptive graphs I can think of, because I've been able to get the total jail population, and I could get the pretrial population, but I couldn't get just the sentence population. So then I realized that if you just subtract the pretrial population, you'll get the hold and sentence, which is really the population that they need to keep in jail. So, but I think it shows exactly what's happening in the county. Yes.
You mentioned you had all that data.
Yes.
About all of that.
Yes, 63,000 lines. Are you a statist?
No, I can do data analysis.
You can? Oh, I'll have to get you your contact information. Okay? Yes.
You asked 2 questions a while ago. What do you think about this, and then also what is there to be done? Can you describe sort of going forward what we should do to organize around this?
Yeah.
And like take sort of a break, and so that you can talk to the camera and address the camera for the video going forward, so that we have a sort of call to action or some sort of directions that we can go.
Okay, well, the only call to action I can think of is to talk to your county commissioners. And they are very receptive, they really are, but you do need to be organized and have the facts in front of you and talk about, what bothers you about the jail expansion and why you don't think it's going to be needed. Because, of course, the county commissioners don't have your point of view. They think that everyone in jail has committed a crime and deserves to be there. So it's an effort to try to convince them that that is not so. And sometimes it's a very difficult effort. Yes?
Is there any study about comparing how much it costs to actually have an incarcerated person, and how much money you'd have to put in a public bail fund or something like that to actually get these folks out of jail? Like, what would be cheaper? Much cheaper.
Oh, much. Well, if you go to that website, their website, and you can go to the homeless transient bookings, and you can see there the amount that of bail. And sometimes it's small. Some people are being held, but sometimes they've done something really bad. But it could be $150, $300, something like that. So, I mean, there might be, even if there's 50 of them like that, that's 50 people housed in prison at $118 a day for small amounts of money. So, but the call to action, if you write emails to your county commissioner, tell them that you do not want to see a certificate of participation for the jail expansion. Yes.
What kind of time frame are we on? Do we know when this is going to be?
I think September 2019. But so I want to wind up everything. I want to talk to as many people as I can through August, and hopefully there will be A groundswell, yes.
Say, yeah, in government years, that's tomorrow,
Yes, I know. I know.
so, yeah.
Yes, in the back.
Commissioners, you guys are available throughout the week too, so. if you
Oh,
go
yeah.
and search for Laramie County Commissioners' schedules.
Yeah, they have.
They have all sorts of events throughout the county. And so
Yeah.
It's not just at 9 o'clock on Tuesday mornings, you have the ability to see it at Dazzle or some other place, like you said, Meatloaf Monday.
Meatloaf Monday, and then the next one is the main library
But those are
on
all listed.
April 6th, but you can find all of that information. Yes.
Has there been any work done with either like the current city council candidates or the Fort Collins Homeless Coalition?
Well, you know, actually, I have contacted the Fort Collins Homeless Coalition. I'm going to their meeting. I've been to one of their meetings to bring it up, and then I'm going again on April 1st. So, and they are starting to organize also. And they are very powerful at getting people, you know, involved and protesting. So hopefully we'll get a protest going. Yes?
The target for pressure really is those three commissioners. Is there anyone else, investors, sheriff,
No,
Smith? It's really
no.
just-
It's the three because it's up to them. It's totally up to them. Yes,
The
Ryan?
DA. The DA.
No, the DA, no. He has nothing to do. The sheriff will tell you, I have nothing to do with the people, how many people are in my jail. That's the DA.
I feel like in these situations, a lot of times, like commissioners, what they'll say is, "Oh, I'm not an expert in this, so I don't have I can only approve the status quo because I'm not an expert." Like, who are they going to? Who could we look to in the community that they would like respond to? Like, you know,
Well,
say
see,
something-
that's the problem, isn't it? There isn't a group saying this is wrong. I mean, the Homeless Coalition, I'm not sure, I don't know honestly.
So is there some organization or persons approaching the commissioners saying we need the jail?
Oh, we need the
I
jail?
would bet.
Yes, it's a sheriff, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
We need
And-
like a conservative economics think tank to say this is a bad idea.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Chamber of Commerce? I don't know.
Well, yes. What happens is I understand. See, what happened was in 2011 they had a jail sales tax. They wanted some huge amount, 0.387%, to expand the jail and fund the operations. I fought against it. Jail is not the answer was my small issue group, and we managed to stop that jail sales tax. They brought it back 3 years later, and it was, I think, 0.18%, and that passed, or 1.15%. But I think that they were a little upset that they could not expand the jail at that point, and I think that this has been in the back of their mind of what something they wanted to see happen. Expanding the jail, because it is at capacity. It is at capacity. They have way too many people there. But to me, expanding the jail is the wrong path to take. Yes.
I think also pointing out that the mental health facility.
Yes.
Is in process.
Yeah.
And that should give attention to a lot of the people that shouldn't be in jail. That should
Well,
be getting attention from the mental health facility.
I don't know how it's going to work, but if 911 is called and there's a mental health episode, if they don't send someone out that is, they could be arrested. So, and that's how it all, I don't know how closely they're going to work with the jail or the police departments.
Well, they do have some new people that go along that are mental health people.
Yeah.
Incorporated into the.
Well, that's good, and I hope
Yes.
I hope that because
And
that's.
so, I think before expanding the jail, they need to, work with these programs somehow.
I think so too. I agree with you.
And I mean, Justin Smith, he actively worked the last time we voted and lost. He against the mental health facility.
Oh.
He wanted.
Well, I think
wanted
that's,
jail.
I actually think the reason that
Yeah, he did.
I think the reason they're doing it in this manner is that they looked at the election results from 2018, and the county went pretty blue. So, for governor and all of the statewide offices. So, I think that they don't think that they will have much luck getting a bond issue passed. Yes.
Another thing is Justin Smith is term limited,
Yes.
and we voted that those stay in place. And so, you know, that might be another avenue is, I don't know how, working on finding somebody that would be an appropriate sheriff.
Well, see, that's another reason. I don't understand what the big rush is because, you know, 2020, the two county commissioners, let the people coming grapple with the problem in their way, because once you do a COP for 15 years, you're stuck. I mean, you have to make those lease payments. You can't just say, I changed my mind. And, you know, you've built half of the expansion. I don't think we need the rest of it. You just can't do that, I don't think. Yes?
Well, I think you've already answered the question why there's a rush. It's because it's not going to happen in the future. It has to happen now.
Yes,
So
exactly.
we have to stop it now.
Yes, yeah. But we have to stop it politely. I have to say, I want to say once more, I know that maybe some of you think being polite is not the best way, but I have to say that every single county, whether they're a county commissioner, whether they work in the criminal justice system, everyone I have met, they are focused on helping and improving the community they live in. They just have a very different way of looking at things than I do and probably than you do. So, you know, getting in their face, I don't think is going to be the right way to do it. If you go to the meeting and try to start a dialogue with them, if you go to the community meetings, I think that's the best way to do it. And once they see the number of people, I think it will, if there's a lot of people, I mean, I don't know. I'm upset about it, but, you know, I don't know that many other people who are that upset about it. So.
I think most of us here are now.
Well, good. Okay, yes?
A magic phrase in any of these situations, questionable expenditure of scarce taxpayer resources.
Yes.
That is the death sentence for most programs.
Well, and it is a questionable expenditure for limited amounts of money.
I've killed programs with that in the past.
Well, good. I hope we can kill this one. Okay, I think, is anything else? All right. Well, thank you once more for letting me come and talk about this issue, which is dear to my heart.